This is exactly the moment that people here in Scituate have been bracing for. Here it is, this water coming up right over the seawall right now. We're still about a half an hour away from high tide, but this is the kind of flood water. These are the wind forces that we've been talking about. This is the storm surge that has created tremendous problems for people out here in Scituate. This water, it is flooding down into these neighborhoods behind me. It's coming up over this seawall, and this is why so many people woke up this morning with feet of water flooding their basements and pouring down into the streets. This is a situation that became incredibly difficult and dangerous out here this morning. People who live in this community, who are used to seeing flooding, who are used to seeing high tides breach this seawall, say that what they saw this morning when that high tide rolled in was more dramatic than something that they have seen in all of their time here. Power lines are a tremendous concern. Power has been shut down to a number of neighborhoods in Scituate. We have seen police out. We've seen the National Guard out here. They evacuated people this morning, and they have been back out here again doing evacuations for people who want to get out of these areas that are most prone to flooding. I want to give you one more look at this. This is probably the closest we'll be able to get to this seawall for some time. These waves only picking up steam, the wind only picking up here, and this water just rushing into these neighborhoods, Jake.
Alexandra, as you know from covering these storms, as I do, sometimes you get dead enders, people who are just refusing to leave the neighborhood no matter how dangerous it gets. Has there been anyone you've seen like that, or are people leaving Scituate?
Absolutely, Jake. There are people who have decided to stay here in their homes. Some of them do, in fact, have power. They've got heat. They stocked up on provisions. They have said that they have weathered out storms before, and even if this is a bad one, they don't want to leave. But we did, again, see the National Guard was coming through, helping people to get out if they wanted to. Police have also been coming up through the streets in high-axle vehicles, reminding people of the danger out here and warning them that if they want to get out, they've got to do it before high tide, which, Jake, is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to peel back now as this water continues to breach this wall here so that we can get our vehicle a little further inland.
Storm surge in southern Massachusetts, the tide 5 feet above normal, blizzard conditions causing flooding in coastal cities like Scituate, which has been partially evacuated. Some seawalls collapsing in the surge before high tide.
Here it is, this water coming up right over the seawall right now.
Strong winds have caused flooding all along the Atlantic coast from southern New Jersey all the way up to Maine. This video shows waves hitting York Harbor. Winds on Plum Island, Massachusetts, reaching 45 miles per hour at points during the day, causing huge waves to crash over their seawalls.
Take a look at the ocean. It is churning, it is bubbling, it is boiling. It has been like this all night long.
More than 12,000 people on Nantucket remain without power or phone service, though power is slowly being restored. The island is virtually cut off from the rest of the state, with ferry service suspended and flights impossible because of whiteout conditions.
It hasn't stopped snowing in about 24 hours now.
Massachusetts has already been hit with as much as 32 inches of snow in some places, and the eastern part of the state could see another 10 inches by Wednesday morning. New Hampshire was hit with more than 20 inches. Residents in Portsmouth taking advantage of the blizzard with a huge snowball fight.
Obviously, missed the worst of this storm, which is a blessing for New York City. We have an old saying that we live by around here: prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
New York and New Jersey missed the worst of the storm, though Long Island remains buried in snow. This time-lapse video of the Statue of Liberty shows the 24 hours of the storm from 8 a.m. Monday to 8 a.m. Tuesday. Both states lifting the travel ban that was put in place Monday night. 7 states declared a state of emergency for the blizzard that has so far claimed 2 lives.
The mystery started when people started seeing dead birds. We're on the eastern shoreline of San Francisco Bay, and this is where the birds began washing up. They looked like they were covered in oil, but it wasn't. It's some kind of mysterious goo. And we're not talking about just a few birds that have died. The death toll is now at more than 200. The problem is the substance gets into the bird's feathers, causing hypothermia.
I'll leave them right in here, yeah.
This really has the look and feel of a trauma center in a major hospital. You have all of these people working that are taking care of the patients, except in this instance, the patients are birds. Lauren and Patrick here are just two of the many volunteers who are here hours on end trying to get these birds clean.
So it's stressful on the bird to be handled, for sure. So, we try and make the wash go as quickly as possible.
Scientists have ruled out oil as the harmful substance, but it's just as dangerous.
This guy has big clumps.
It has the consistency of glue that sticks to the bird's feathers. Dawn dishwashing detergent is used to help remove the gunk, while a lab tries to figure out exactly what it is.
It looks almost like rubber cement. It's tacky on the bird's feathers, doesn't want to come off on our gloves. But we are having some very good results with the current protocols of washing, and we are able to clean these birds.
If the birds make it outside and get into one of these miniature pools, it means that they're doing well. This is where they're observed for a few days before they're finally released back into the wild. About 250 birds so far have been treated here. The worst may be over. But until scientists can figure out where that goo came from, there's still a concern more of these helpless animals to be found.
More breaking news to tell you. A terrible situation unfolding in Mexico City, actually just south of it. This was a maternity hospital. A truck carrying gas crashed into this hospital and exploded. We understand, according to officials, 54 people were injured, including 22 children. There are still people trapped in this maternity hospital. Rescuers are just arriving on the scene, trying to get people out. When we know more about this situation, of course, we'll bring you back to Mexico City.
2 babies and a female nurse are now known to have died after this maternity hospital in Mexico City was completely destroyed by a powerful gas explosion. A newborn baby, just 2 weeks old, died at the scene along with the nurse. A second infant died hours later. Several babies were pulled alive from the rubble. The Mexican president visited dozens of people injured and bleeding, including 21 babies taken to this hospital. He said, "We were glad to see children in good health. The mothers had some injuries, but overall were doing well. We also visited some children whose condition was unfortunately critical." The explosion happened yesterday morning when a gas tanker was filling up a fuel tank at the hospital kitchen and gas started to leak. People were evacuating the building just before the devastating blast.
It's nothing new that the U.S. military has smart bombs that are self-guided to hit targets with super accuracy. Now, the Pentagon's research agency, DARPA, is creating smart bullets. The project is codenamed Exacto, Extreme Accuracy Tasked Ordnance. If successful, Exacto would be the first ever small caliber bullet that could steer itself. This DARPA Exacto video shows the path of an experimental smart bullet which was intentionally shot off target. Watch it do something ordinary bullets simply cannot do. While it slices through the air at hundreds of miles per hour, it changes course and turns toward its target. The bullets could help American snipers overcome challenging weather conditions like high winds. So here's how they work. The tips of each bullet include optical sensors. These sensors send signals to tiny fins on the bullets, which adjust the path toward the target. These bullets are still in development, so it might be a while before we see them in action. Project Exacto's goal of creating a better bullet is ultimately aimed at saving more American lives on the battlefields of the future.
5 is on your side with the health concerns that are only growing this afternoon across the country as the measles outbreak continues to spread. 90 cases have now been confirmed in 14 states. ABC's Marcy Gonzalez reports on why this weekend in particular is a battle against the virus.
Concern growing across the country. With more than 80 cases of measles across more than a dozen states, health officials warn this is a critical point in this outbreak.
A big thing with measles is that it's extremely contagious.
Experts believe this outbreak began last month after an unvaccinated family was infected at Disneyland. Then a woman exposed to them contracted it. And because measles is spread through the air, doctors worry she may have exposed nearly 200 children to the virus when she visited a clinic near Phoenix. Health officials say 1,000 adults in the area are also being monitored.
What they're being told is to watch for signs and symptoms of measles.
And with Super Bowl fans heading to the big game in Phoenix this weekend, medical students will be out looking for anyone with measles-like symptoms, which include fever, cough, runny nose, pink eye, and rash.
The risk is really very, very small. And if you're vaccinated, your risk is really non-existent.
This outbreak is reigniting the debate over vaccinations and the choice more parents are making to not immunize their children.
There's also many risks if they get the vaccine versus getting an illness that they could actually recover from.
It's a personal decision, I understand, but you have to look at the greater good as well.
And now in Phoenix and across the country, doctors are telling anyone potentially exposed to the virus and not vaccinated to stay away from public places for 21 days. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC 7 News.
War-ravaged eastern Ukraine has seen a deadly 24 hours. At least 12 civilians and 5 Ukrainian troops have been killed. Multiple flashpoints have flared up since the start of the month, when full-blown fighting between Russian-backed rebels and government forces erupted anew following a month of relative tranquility. Ukraine's military conceding that its forces had been overrun in the battle to hold on to the town of Volodymyr. The town is a strategically valuable railway hub northeast of Donetsk. By advancing on the town, the rebels ensured their control over the highlands and roads leading to Donetsk, and at the same time almost cut supply lines used by the Ukrainian army for weapons and food. Donetsk separatist leader Alexander Zaharchenko called on Ukrainian forces to surrender.
Ребят, мое предложение сложить оружие и уйти.
Boys, I offer you the chance to lay down your arms and leave. You are fighting the wrong people. All of you surrender and you will live, I promise. All of you will return home.
A Ukrainian military spokesman says fighting is continuing in the town. A day earlier, Russian-backed separatists carried out heavy shelling in Avdiivka, just over 10 miles north of the rebel stronghold of Donetsk, itself the scene of heavy fighting between the opposing sides. Ukrainian forces took control of another village in the Donetsk region, Orehovo, before destroying a rail track allegedly used for the illegal delivery of coal to separatist forces. Footage from an independent media website shows soldiers searching the village and then using explosives to blow up a small section of the track.
A young man stands in a studio of the main public Dutch TV network. He's carrying what appears to be a firearm. Looking outwardly calm, he speaks to a man off camera. His presence in the NOS studio forced the network to take its programs off air and evacuate the building.
Just before the 8 o'clock broadcast, an armed man walked into the newsroom. I don't know if it was a real gun. He wanted to go on the air, so we directed him to a studio that was not used at the time. And after that, we warned the police.
The man had hoped he would be able to speak on the main nightly news program. But being diverted to an empty studio made that impossible. He told workers at the NOS that he'd been hired by the intelligence services and wanted to talk about world affairs. Then, while he was speaking to the same person off camera, armed police moved in.
Ik laat het vallen. Ik heb het laten vallen. Ik heb het laten vallen.
Local media have reported that the man had recently lost his parents. Police have said they are considering charging him with hostage taking and illegal possession of a gun. Dominic Kane, Al Jazeera.